So Sean Murray from Hello Games gets up and he's like, "Hey, I remember when, like 10 years ago, when I announced No Man's Sky and I said it was going to be the biggest game ever and it was going to have everything in the world and it was going to suck your dick. Well, I learned my lesson because this time I'm here to announce we're making a new game and it's the entire planet Earth." I was, oh, God, he did it again! They did it again! It's... Oh, man. See, the thing about being 21 and soon to be 22 is that now I feel the passage of time. And realizing that I remember when No Man's Sky got announced, and I remember being at fucking scout camp in, like, summer 2014 and overhearing some really excited kids talking to like either a scoutmaster or a counselor or something about No Man's Sky and how it was going to have a bajillion planets and you could do anything in it. And that was one of the first times that I remember hearing someone talk about a video game in, you know, out in the wild, literally out in the wild because we were in the woods. Yeah, and then it came out and I just thought about those kids and that was probably a sobering experience for them. Anyway, yeah, so it's like this... from what it looks like, it seems like they took their whole procedural generation tech that they built for all the different planets in No Man's Sky, but then they're smushing it all together into just one planet that I guess is procedurally generated or something, and it's also multiplayer. Like it might be an MMO or something like that. I don't know how that's gonna work. I watched the gameplay trailer. Some people are gonna get excited about it. I think that it kind of seems like one of two things. A game from 10 years ago or a game that 30-year-old dudes who like only play MMOs would get really excited for because someone made a Kickstarter about how they're going to make the biggestest, most awesome, epicest MMO ever and they just need your money for it. For some reason, that crowd of people, those like 30-plus-year-old dudes who only play MMOs, they're like a like a whirlpool for scams. Is the scam or the guy the whirlpool? I don't know in that analogy, but it sounds kind of right. Yeah, it just seemed like kind of well, there's a landscape, like I don't know, you just get a lot of shots of it's just people exploring. I don't even think there was building. That it's probably like proof of concept stuff. Like really, this is probably like pre-alpha footage. You know, they're building houses. There might be combat. I don't know because it's a video game. It has to have combat. It didn't sell me. It didn't sell me. You know, lots of shots of whoa, look at these landscapes. Then you look at the landscapes and it's a lot of trees, and I'm thinking, oh, is there stuff in there to do, or is it just like, ooh, look at this, there's a lot of trees. We had an interesting conversation, I think, about the popularity of open world games and why that is. What someone asked, like, what was the game that kicked off the craze, and my answer to that is that I don't think you can attribute it to any single game in particular. You sort of can. You can say, like, okay, you know, games like Morrowind, GTA 3, those are the games that really, like, made it, I think, that idea explode. Maybe there might be something else. But you could see the concept earlier in you know, other sorts of RPG stuff like Fallout, anything with a big explorable world. And the truth is that, yes, those games might have, like, exploded the concept, but in the way that I see it, they didn't invent it. That idea has been around since it was an inevitability that big open worlds were going to be a thing because people have wanted big explorable open worlds and settings for decades. Like, since I mean, like, Christ... So many of the earliest video games, like mainframe experiments from the 60s, are just people trying to make Dungeons and Dragons again. It's just people trying to make D&D again. And what's D&D? It's a big world with rules that you can get lost in. And people have been trying to capture that more and more accurately, what they wanted Dungeons and Dragons to be in like a visible form that's not just in your imagination. I think, there was this great article. It's on Shmuplations, which you should totally check out. Yes, here it is. It's in my history. That's so nice. It popped up. Shmuplations.com is this wonderful, wonderful website full of, it's this gigantic archive of translated interviews with Japanese game designers, mainly Japanese game designers. And they've got this great piece. It's called What is Game Design? 3 Perspectives. And let's see. They interviewed Hideo Kojima, Satoshi Tajiri, and Koichi Nakamura. And which one was it? I want to say it was Nakamura. Yes, it was Nakamura, who was of Spike Chunsoft. Or sorry, just Chunsoft at the time. And what is it? Yes, Dragon Quest, Shiren the Wanderer. Those are his main claims. And he says another approach to game design is to take a new piece of hardware and ask yourself, what is it capable of? How could I use it? It may be that new design insights come to you as a result of exploring those possibilities. I doubt the person who invented titanium had any idea it would end up being used in everything from golf clubs to glasses. Similarly, consider the SRAM technology. PCs had long had the ability to save data between games, but the person who first saw that technology and realized, I could make a huge console RPG now, that's a person who is capable of game design. And I think about this quote a lot when I think about like advancing technology and the history of hardware. Because the way that Nakamura describes game design, it's almost like he looks at it as like a wood carver looks at a log or something like that. You know, how a sculptor looks at a slab of marble. It's not, it doesn't begin with what's my idea. That comes next. The first step is, what is the hardware capable of? What are the things that it can do? And applying that in a creative way is where the designer comes in. That's where the creativity comes in. So someone looks at the increasing power of hardware and they think, I could make something like Morrowind. I can make a game that is basically, it's fully voiced. It's fully voiced. Fully voiced with this big, fully 3D world, polygonal world, with all these systems, like this whole thing, right? You think about that, and that's the hardware. That's the wood carver in my mind. That's the wood carver, working what's given to them into a shape. The log is so big, or maybe it has these interesting branches and it has some kind of a shape, and inside of that you see something. That's how I think of the inevitability of the big open world. And it just, it's an inherently appealing idea to a lot of people. Not necessarily to me. I'm not the biggest open world guy, but yeah, what the fuck was we talking about? All right. Skull and Bones finally got a release date.